Greetings, YouTube. As you most of you know who watch my videos, I read role-playing books as entertainment, purely because I enjoy reading about different gaming worlds, different rule systems. I consider them to be metafiction. I can read a set of rules, and if it's a good set of rules, it will inspire numerous ideas for campaigns or character builds. In fact, that's one of the ways I know I'm reading a book that really interests me. If I find myself subconsciously designing characters as I'm reading it, and I'm thinking about them when I'm at work, that's a sign that the book is good and it's got my gaming gears grinding. A little alliteration for your morning. And one of the things I've noticed over the years is that it seems that a lot of, almost every gaming company I've ever read, and so this is not aimed at any one group or any one specific author here, they seem to drop the ball when it comes to naming things. Not nations or even characters, but the races of the player characters and non-player characters in the game. Now, I'm going to be talking here specifically about D&D and Pathfinder because it's my favorite game, and it's the one I've been reading quite a bit about. In fact, I just finished a Pathfinder book yesterday. I'll be probably reviewing that this weekend. So it's the one that's on my mind at the moment. Now, there are names in the game that make perfect sense, and I have no problem with. Human, dwarf, elf, gnome. These are all acceptable names for races. They sound like names. But then you have some of the races, for example, like the half races, half elf, half orc, half giant, and the most despised one I could think of, halfling. What are they a half of? And what member of that race, in their right mind, is going to call themselves a halfling? It's absurd. And now, I'm to blame for this as well. Up until now, I've never changed their name. I mean, yeah, we had Kender back in 2nd edition, but I always referred to them as hobbits or halflings. Okay, and Hobbit brings up Tolkien, and fat, chubby, layabout halflings aren't my idea. I like the small, fast, thievy type halflings that you see in 3rd edition Pathfinder. But it's a horrible, horrible name. One of the books I read this year, they called halflings Pechs, P-E-C-H. And that's the name I'm using from now on. It's a proper name, Pech. Singular, plural, I think it's going to be the same. Half-elves, half-orcs, half-giants? I mean, come on. Who calls themselves these things? In the real world, if you are half something, for example, in the United States, you could be half Comanche. What person of that ethnicity calls themselves, "Hi, I'm half Comanche"? No, they say, "I'm Comanche," they say they're Anglo. It depends on what cultural background they have. They could just say, "I'm American," and they would be correct. But no one was going to call themselves half Comanche. And who would call themselves half-elf or half-orc or half-giant? Now, I think I would actually, if I'm using any of these races in the future, I'm getting rid of halves. There are going to be no crossbreeding races in my game. I'm sick to death of them. Humans apparently will sleep with anything, which bears out in our world as well. And I'm just sick to death of the fact that there are all these races that they are fertile with. That makes no sense to me. So I'm going to call half-elves, elves. And the elves, the standard D&D Pathfinder elves, I'm going to call them high elves. Bingo. Elves are lesser fey blood, and high elves have more fey blood. Half-orcs? Tossing that out. They're orcs. And the orcs in the game are going to call them probably black orcs, or maybe even borrow Tolkien and call them Hurakai. Half-giants, I'm going to steal the name from Harp. I'm going to call them the Grix. I like them mechanically, but half-giant is a dumb name. Okay? In the Psionics Unleashed book I just reviewed last week, there's a race in there called the Ophidians. It's a snake reptile-based race. I think they're interesting mechanically, and their background's cool. I like them. They're a psionic race. But Ophidian is a name that comes out of the languages of Earth. It is not a name that's going to pop up in a fantasy setting, nor is it going to be a name that the race itself refers to it as. No one's going to say, I'm a member of the Ophidians. No, they're not going to say that. So I'm thinking, what would be a perfect name for a reptile race that's got a psionic theme? Sleestack. They had a definite psionic vibe, and they were awesome. Again, it's a dumb name. Get rid of the name. Put a better one in there. Give these races a name that the race themselves would call themselves. For example, the barbarian class. No one calls themselves a barbarian. Barbarian is an insult. You don't call yourself a barbarian. It'd be like proudly saying, I am a douchebag. No, you don't call yourself a barbarian. You call yourself a berserker. That's what they're modeled on, berserkers. So, barbarian name, gone. I'm calling them berserkers. It fits the class perfectly. To me, these names matter, because what you bring to the game is modified by the language you use in the game. And I think that we need to tailor our language so that we bring a better mental image with us. Peck is far more evocative to my mind than halfling. Berserker is a good explanation, and it's a name they would call themselves. Sleestack. Everybody raised in the 70s or 80s in America will get that reference. You have an entire catalog of information that comes to mind. And it sounds a whole lot better than Ophidian. Not to insult the people that came up with the name. They're a great race. I love the book they're from. But I don't like the name. Alright? So, I think these things matter. Yes, I know. You know something, Tetsubo? You spend far too much time thinking about gaming-related topics. And you'd be correct in that matter. I think about gaming stuff all the time. I while away the hours, literally, at work, thinking about gaming stuff because I don't have much else to do. I run a press at night. It isn't exciting. I mean, last night I made 392 pieces of parts. It took me 8 hours. It wasn't exciting, okay? These names, to me, are more evocative, more interesting. I think that they're going to generate more ideas for the player, for the GM, and they're going to give a greater sense of nobility and worth to the races and the classes that they belong to. So yes, I think about this stuff too much, but I still think it's interesting. It occupies me, keeps me off the street, and keeps me from going absolutely insane when I'm on part 300 and I still have 92 to go.